But I felt compelled to come on the air a little bit earlier this week after what I've had to endure.
What are the things you had to endure?
What I had to endure this weekend were an abundance of people talking a whole lot of stuff about me because they did not like what I had to say about Representative Jasmine Crockett. She is a Democrat out of Texas, Texas's 30th congressional district. Her work, and her verbiage and all of that stuff speaks for itself. And she has become, a big time public figure in essence, not just as a representative, but speaking out on a plethora of issues involving the current administration and the White House, et cetera, et cetera. And I made some noise last week because I had the temerity, the unmitigated gall to say this about Representative Crockett when talking about the state of our politics in the midst of a government shutdown, by the way, that has unfolded since October 1st.
Stephen A. Smith leaned into the mic, voice sharp, posture stiff. "I've got nothing but respect for Jasmine Crockett," he said, "but what she's doing is counterproductive."
I have nothing but respect for her. I just disagree on what she's making headlines for because I think it's counterproductive to the ultimate goal.
Then he paused, like a man who knew a storm was about to hit, and added, "And to everyone calling me a grifter, stop it." That's when Roland Martin, DL Hughley, and half of Black Twitter came for him. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, because we're about to break down one of the most revealing moments in media this year. And I'm not being dramatic when I say that, because Stephen A. Smith just responded to all the criticism he got for his comments about Jasmine Crockett. He sat down, he put on his serious face, he laid out his case for 41 minutes. He pulled receipts, he showed clips, he explained his position in detail, and in doing all of that, he accidentally proved every single one of his critics right. This isn't just about one person's opinion anymore. This is about what happens when someone tries so hard to defend themselves that they reveal exactly what everyone was saying about them all along. So stick around, because we're diving deep into what Stephen A. actually said, why it backfired, and what this tells us about where media is going. Let's get into it. Stephen A. responds and misses the entire point. Stephen A. Smith posted a 41-minute video responding to the backlash, and right from the jump, you could tell he was frustrated. He felt like people were misrepresenting what he said. He felt like he was being accused of things he didn't do. He wanted to set the record straight. So what did he do? He started by saying he respects Jasmine Crockett. He said she's been invited on his show for weeks. He said he has nothing but respect for her as a person and as a representative. Then he spent the next 40 minutes explaining why everything she's doing is wrong. He showed clips of her calling Trump a criminal, clips of her calling him a thug, clips of her calling him a white supremacist, clips of her calling the Texas governor Hot Wheels. And after each clip, Stephen A. essentially said, "This is not productive. This is not how you serve your constituents. This is street talk, not political strategy." And on paper, that sounds reasonable. It sounds like someone making a legitimate critique about political tactics. It sounds like someone genuinely concerned about whether a politician is being effective. But here's the problem. That's not what people were upset about. Nobody was accusing Stephen A. of lacking basic respect. Nobody was saying he literally hates Jasmine Crockett as a person. What people were saying is that he was applying different standards, that he was punching down, that he was criticizing a black woman for doing what male politicians, and especially white politicians, do every single day without consequence. And by spending 41 minutes defending his tone and intent instead of addressing that actual concern, Stephen A. proved that he doesn't understand why people are angry. He wanted to prove he wasn't wrong, but in doing so, he confirmed that he doesn't get it. And that might be worse. The double standard nobody wants to acknowledge. Let's talk about what Stephen A. actually said in his response, because this is where it gets revealing. He pulled up all these clips of Jasmine Crockett using strong language, calling Trump a criminal, calling him a piece of, well, you get it, calling the Texas governor Hot Wheels. And Stephen A's point was, how is this serving your constituents? How is this getting anything done? How is this productive? Now, here's what's fascinating about that argument. Stephen A framed this as being about effectiveness, about strategy, about whether Crockett's approach is helping or hurting her district. But if that's really the concern, why didn't he show clips of Trump doing the same thing? Why didn't he show clips of Republican congressmen calling Democrats communists? Why didn't he show clips of conservative politicians using inflammatory language to fire up their base? Because here's the thing. If Stephen A is genuinely concerned about politicians using divisive rhetoric instead of working across the aisle, then he should be equally concerned about everyone doing it. But he's not. He singled out Jasmine Crockett. And when you single out a black woman for behavior that's widespread across the political spectrum, it stops looking like a legitimate critique. It starts looking like something else. This is the double standard people are calling out. When Trump uses brash rhetoric, it's called strong leadership. When conservative politicians fire up their base with inflammatory language, it's called authentic or telling it like it is. But when a black woman does the exact same thing, it's called counterproductive. It's called street talk. It's called behavior that doesn't serve her constituents. That's not about politics, that's about perception. And perception is where the real battle is being fought. Why Crockett's rhetoric isn't the problem, it's the symptom. Stephen A keeps talking about Jasmine Crockett's rhetoric like it exists in a vacuum, like she just woke up one day and decided to start calling people names for no reason. But that's not what happened, and this is what he refuses to acknowledge. Jasmine Crockett is operating in a political environment that was fundamentally changed by the same people Stephen A won't criticize. Donald Trump didn't just win an election. He changed the entire playbook for how politics works in America. Before Trump, there was at least some expectation of decorum. Politicians would disagree strongly, but they'd use measured language. They'd try to maintain some level of professionalism. There were unwritten rules about how you conducted yourself in political spaces. Trump threw all of that out the window. He proved that you could insult your opponents, call them names, mock their appearance, question their intelligence, and not only get away with it, but get rewarded for it. He got elected doing exactly that. And once that precedent was set, the entire political landscape shifted. The rules changed. The game changed. Being polite stopped working. Being measured stopped getting attention. Being strategic in the old way stopped being effective. So when Jasmine Crockett fires back with that same energy, she's not creating chaos. She's responding to it. She's not disrespecting the process. She's surviving in the process that exists now. Stephen A treats her tone as the problem, but her tone is actually the symptom of a much larger disease in American politics. The complete breakdown of political norms that happened because one side decided the rules didn't matter anymore. And by refusing to acknowledge that, Stephen A is essentially saying, the people who broke the system get a pass, but the people responding to the broken system need to be more respectful. That's not fair. That's not consistent. And that's why people are calling him out. The grift is real, but it's not about money. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Is Stephen A. Smith grifting? A lot of people, including folks who responded to his original comments, have said yes. They've accused him of pandering to conservatives, of positioning himself to build a political media career, of adjusting his principles to keep his audience happy. And here's the thing, they're not entirely wrong. Stephen A. has been repositioning himself over the last year or so. He's been showing up on conservative platforms more frequently. He's been taking stances that align with right-leaning audiences. He's been framing himself as an independent who just happens to consistently criticize Democrats while going softer on Republicans. That's not a coincidence. That's strategic. But here's where it gets interesting. Stephen A. isn't grifting out of desperation. He's not some struggling content creator who needs to chase engagement to pay rent. The man signed a contract worth over $100 million. He's financially set for life. So why is he doing this? Because it's not about money. It's about legacy. It's about influence. It's about ego. Stephen A. sees what people like Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, and Candace Owens have built. Huge independent platforms with loyal followings and actual political influence. They're not just commentators anymore. They're power players. They shape conversations. They move elections. Stephen A. wants that. He wants to be more than just a sports analyst. He wants to be a thought leader. He wants to be taken seriously in political spaces. He wants to matter beyond ESPN. And he's figured out that the fastest way to build that kind of platform is to position himself as the reasonable voice who criticizes the left while being softer on the right. Because that's what plays well right now. That's what gets you invited on shows. That's what gets you credibility with the audiences that currently dominate political media. So yes, he's grifting, but it's not about money, it's about power. It's about wanting to be respected in every room, even if it means losing yourself in the process. And that's where it backfires. Because when you start adjusting your principles to keep your audience, you stop being authentic. And people can feel that. You become the thing you once criticized. The real issue. Authenticity versus self-preservation. Here's what this whole situation is actually about. It's not about whether Stephen A. respects Jasmine Crockett. It's not about whether her rhetoric is effective. It's not even about left versus right. It's about authenticity versus self-preservation. Stephen A. is trying to be everything to everyone. He wants to be seen as independent while consistently leaning one direction. He wants to critique both sides while only really going hard on one. He wants to be taken seriously in political commentary while refusing to acknowledge the context that created the current political environment. And the result is that he's losing credibility with everyone. The left doesn't trust him because they see the pattern. They see him applying different standards. They see him criticizing Democrats for behavior he excuses in Republicans. They see him positioning himself for access and influence rather than standing on principle. And here's the thing. Conservatives won't actually respect him either. They'll use him. They'll platform him. They'll point to him as evidence that even liberals are admitting we're right. But they're not going to vote for him. They're not going to actually see him as one of them. He's a useful tool, not a true ally. So Stephen A. is caught in the middle. He's alienating one side while not actually gaining real credibility with the other. And when the political winds shift, which they always do, he's going to find himself with nowhere to go. That's what happens when you choose self-preservation over authenticity. You end up losing both. Why Stephen A.'s response actually made it worse. So let's come back to Stephen A.'s 41-minute response. What did it actually accomplish? Technically, he clarified his position. He explained what he meant. He showed that he wasn't trying to disrespect Jasmine Crockett personally. He laid out his reasoning for why he thinks her approach is counterproductive. But emotionally, politically, socially, he made things worse. Because by spending all that time defending his tone and intent, he proved that he doesn't understand the actual criticism. He thought people were accusing him of lacking respect. But what they were actually saying is that he's applying double standards, punching down, and refusing to acknowledge the context that created this political environment. And by not addressing any of that, he confirmed exactly what his critics were saying about him. He wanted to prove he wasn't wrong. But in trying to prove that, he revealed that he doesn't get why people are upset in the first place. And that might be the most damaging thing of all. Because it shows that Stephen A. isn't just making a tactical error. He's fundamentally missing the conversation people are trying to have. What happens next? So where does this go from here? Stephen A. has a choice to make. He can either double down on this path, continuing to position himself as the reasonable independent who consistently criticizes one side while going soft on the other, or he can actually engage with the criticism he's getting and adjust. If he doubles down, he's going to keep losing credibility with the left while never gaining real credibility with the right. He'll be stuck in this middle space where he's useful to conservatives, but not respected by them, and rejected by progressives for being inauthentic. If he adjusts, he has a chance to rebuild some of that credibility. But it would require actually acknowledging what people are upset about. It would require applying consistent standards, It would require being honest about the political environment that created this situation in the first place. Based on his 41-minute response, I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's going to keep defending himself, keep explaining his intent, keep missing the point, and the result is going to be exactly what people have been warning him about. He's going to alienate everyone. He's going to end up with a platform, but no credibility, influence, but no respect. That's the cost of choosing self-preservation over authenticity. The final word: when defending yourself proves your critics right. Let me be straight with you. Stephen A. Smith's response was detailed. It was thorough. It was well produced. He clearly put thought into it. But it completely missed the point. People weren't accusing him of lacking basic respect for Jasmine Crockett. They were accusing him of applying double standards, of punching down, of refusing to acknowledge that the political chaos she's operating in was created by the same forces he won't criticize. And by spending 41 minutes defending his tone instead of addressing that actual concern, he proved every single one of his critics right. He showed that he doesn't understand why people are upset. He showed that he's more concerned with protecting his positioning than engaging honestly with criticism. He showed that he wants to be seen as the reasonable voice while refusing to apply reason consistently. That's not independence, that's self-preservation. And people can see the difference. Jasmine Crockett's rhetoric isn't the disease, it's the symptom of a political system that rewards noise over nuance, outrage over order. And by focusing on her tone while ignoring the context that created it, Stephen A. revealed exactly what people have been saying about him. He's more interested in being respected in every room than standing on principle. If you made it this far, you clearly care about understanding what's really happening beyond the surface-level drama. That's what we do here every single week. So if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications so you don't miss when we drop new videos. Drop a comment down below. What's your take? Did Stephen A. make his case, or did he make it worse? Do you think the grift is real? Let's have a real conversation in the comments. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.